I say yes to rivers.
Oh, I care about rivers. Rivers feed people, rivers provide livelihoods, rivers provide fresh water to communities and to millions of people. And that's why we need to preserve and protect the ecological functions of rivers. We need to keep rivers free-flowing to benefit the communities that depend on them. And dams are not compatible with that.
We do not necessarily like dams being built on the rivers. That's as simple as rivers being living organisms and a scarce resource. And when you build a dam, you basically kill a piece of the river. It's not renewable as they try to pretend. This is just killing a very important living organism, a part of a river system. And we already killed by this way about 40% of large rivers in the world, and if we continue at the same pace we won't have any living rivers by the end of this century. So I don't want any more dams being built because it's very difficult to fix.
Many of the stories, the negative stories that accompany the construction of dams are never told to the people who are affected. And one classical example is our people who were told that the dam would generate electricity that would benefit them and that would improve their lives. But today, 60-something years after the dam was constructed, our people still don't have electricity. They still can't access the water bodies for fishing, which was their major source of livelihood in the past. And they are impoverished. So we don't want many more communities to suffer the same consequences that our people suffer. And that's why we are saying no to dams, because it's all a lie that is told to the people. Dams are constructed for mainly the capitalist interest of big corporates and governments. Dams construction is corrupt retail. So we are saying no to it.
My organization is working on the financing of different projects in the energy sector. And one of the issues which we're coming across are the projects on the dams, and they are frequently conflicting with the local communities. Here in Georgia, in Svanetia, basically the Nenskra dam would like to take the land from the community in Svanetia, which they're working already for the hundreds of years. In the other cases, the dam construction drying out the rivers. In other cases, there is a preparation of the dam, there is increasing of the conflicts. There is a militarization of the region, or using the police forces, and from that perspective, we believe it's one of the issues which could be addressed by the better planning of the energy systems. And Georgia is a good example. There is so big potential on the PVs and a better utilizing of the existing infrastructure.
I'm not against dam construction itself, but I'm against not politically participative damming projects.
We are working to free rivers from damming, mainly because of the huge impacts that we see from large hydro. Communities are affected, we lose river biodiversity, and downstream impacts are very huge. Climate change is also an issue regarding hydropower dams.
Because this is the outdated technology, which was, I think, important for development maybe in 20th century, but now it gets outdated. There are better alternatives to it to get the energy and to still save the environment. I think that currently how it's done, how it's planned, how it's implemented, how these dams and also the small hydropower plants are built, this is just not sustainable in any manner.
Why I think destructive dams should be stopped is that they destroy rivers and undermine the livelihoods of fishing communities all over the world.
We say no to dams because they harm communities, they harm ecosystems, forest land, and there are better ways to generate our energy and water infrastructure needs.
The dams are not most of the times the best options. And then lastly, we need to, whatever decisions we take, we need to have a public acceptance of the decisions. We need to have a democratic process, informed process, where people have the benefit of all the information of the various options available. And through a democratic informed process, you arrive at a decision. That will be then the right decision. And that's the kind of process we have been fighting for.
So in our country, most of our mountain rivers are still drinkable, and there are some of most important biodiversity spots in Europe. And still there are plenty of opportunities for kayaking, for hiking, for fly fishing, exploring the rivers in different way. And local people have a great opportunity to develop and actually to improve their living standards if getting involved in ecotourism activities and preserving their traditional agriculture and craftsmanship and way of life like they have until now.
Almost always the dams are built from the top, and the rights of the people who live off the water, who live off the rivers, they are not respected. People are not included in the planning. Their rights to participate in the project are neglected. Their own attitudes on how they want to develop, how they want to live, whether they want a project on their land at all or whether they just want to continue their life and develop it further.
Yeah, so I think, if you think about environment, ecosystems, what people depend on, rivers are like the arteries of the planet. They transfer nutrients, food, livelihoods to many different populations. People depend on rivers. Environments and ecosystems, in order to be healthy, also depend on rivers. So if we want to think about preserving the planet and preserving the health of people, we need to make sure that we have healthy rivers.
Hydropower has very often big consequences, not only for the river and for the natural environment, but also for the people living along the river, and the society is dependent on the resources in the river. Frequently we also see that large hydropower projects become far more expensive than the costs that are planned, and that's a good reason why we should take caution and be strategic when you are planning the energy sector. So you should know if you're choosing hydropower that you're choosing good projects, or you should look for alternatives.
ჰიდროენერგეტიკას ჩვენოვნებით დიდ კაშხლებს, ჩვენოვნებით არასდერივაციულ ფესებს, ვინაიდან ისინი არ არის მდგრადი ალტერნატივა ჩვენი ქვეყნის განვითარებისათვის. დიდი კაშხლები მოითხოვს ტერიტორიების დატბორვას, ანუ ეს ტერიტორიები, ტყეები, სასოფლო-სამეურნეო სავარგულები, ისტორიული სოფლები და ქალაქები გვაკლდება ისევ ჩვენ. პატარა კაშხლები, ისეთი როგორც არის დერივაციული ფესები, კლავენ ამ სიტყვის პირდაპირ მნიშვნელობით მდინარეებს, ვინაიდან ჩვენში არსებული პრაქტიკით 90% წყლის მოდინების გადასროლა ხდება გვირაბებში, რის შედეგადაც მდინარეები და მათი ეკოსისტემები კვდება. გარდა ამისა, მოსახლეობას ექნება უამრავი პრობლემა, როგორც იძულებითი გასადასახლების შემთხვევაში, ასევე იმ შემთხვევაში, როდესაც მათ არ აქვთ ხელმისაწვდომობა წყალთან, უმცირდებათ სოფლის მეურნეობისგან შემოსავალი.
I oppose many of the dams around the world, not only because they're corruption friendly, not only because they're not climate friendly, but also because they destroyed big part of the nature of the world. And in Georgia, it's a great example. Georgians, you have great nature, you have one of the most amazing sea sceneries. Many tourists are starting to come here just because of the nature. And if we destroy this nature, we will lose the opportunities to have the ecotourism developments of the region, and we will lose also many important species of animals and plants.
I am primarily against hydro if they are to be built in naturally protected areas. We all know that naturally protected areas are rich in water resources but also in biodiversity, which is very, very valuable. And with the climate change impacts, it is absolutely important to protect water resources and to protect natural habitats. On the contrary to this goal of protection, the hydropower plants are basically destroying the water courses and the nature in our protected area. So this is the reason why we strongly believe that hydropower plants are not supposed to be built in protected areas.
These hydropower projects where I'm from, they make no sense economically, they make no sense for energy. There are 540 proposed hydropowers in Albania, which together will provide less than 2% of Albania's energy needs. So yeah, no sense economically, no sense, very illegal process, and an environmental catastrophe. So for all these reasons, we are trying to stop them.
Yeah, because the dam is destroy the ecosystem of the rivers and also the livelihood of the people. And this is the reason that why I against the dam.